here we are. We're back. Another fabulous Friday. Art, we got a special guest in the house who's going to be a fireball of the day. Today is February 7th. Does that mean, wait a minute, is that Valentine's Day is next week?
Valentine's Day is next week, but
It is.
it's my birthday today.
Now, I knew that, Art. Let me get
Ah,
to it. Happy birthday. 57 again, huh, buddy?
yeah, it'd be nice to be 57 again, right? That's the year I was born in 57.
It's a great year. 57 is a great year. Almost as great as 62.
Yeah,
Yeah, because, in 1962, the Space Needle was erected. Yeah, that's the kind of
yeah,
response you usually get. Well, Art, happy birthday, Art.
yeah.
Happy birthday, Art.
Thanks,
Cool.
Gavin.
And now, yes, I think we're talking, is this our 50th or our 51st episode?
This
This
will
one.
actually be our 51st show.
Cheers.
Oh,
Oh, wow.
yeah.
That's cool. All right. Excellent. And you know what? Today, Art, I was actually fooling around and I have show notes, believe it or not. Things that have been going on today or this week. So let's just dive into the copier realm, right? So what happened? Kyocera did some stuff. Let's see who hired. There's a bunch of people hiring. MPS Monitor did something in Spain. Oki Data released something. I think you might have spoke about that.
Okay.
Oki did something with 3D integration to thin film integrated chips. They're now going to make integrated chips a different way, which I know is not a big yank for us, but it's certainly out there, kind of in the niche. And then I don't know if you saw this, but there was a Scott Muir, Murr.
Yes.
He's got something new going on over there with contract management and asset management in transit or something. So we might learn more about that in the next couple of weeks or so. But that crossed my radar.
Right. Scott was over out at ECS
Right. He was at
about a
ECS.
month ago.
Okay. All these, gee whiz, brother, Seiko, Fuji, Konica Minolta, Kyocera, Toshiba, Sharp, all have some financial figures in. I'm not going to go through them. They're always boring as hell. A lot of them are losing money. None of them are really killing it. Same thing as it was back in 2001. So nothing changes.
Yeah. I guess the biggest announcement for the week, when you think about MFPs and technology, was Lexmark when they announced the AI-powered cloud solutions for their A3 devices.
Yeah. Yeah. I think I got an article in the works about that right now. I don't know that much more than what you just said. I think, the same announcement you said. So I'm not sure if they're just, AI washing something or if it really is something. I don't know.
I think it's more AI just watching for fleet management, print management, capture, workflow.
Yeah, I don't know what that means though, right? So you got to dig in deeper and see what they mean by that.
Most times with press releases, you don't get to know what that means.
Well, I love when they say we've been doing AI since for a decade, and it's just almost like we've had this conversation at the beginning of the MPS. We've been doing MPS since 1974. Really? Wow, that's interesting.
Right.
So, I don't know if it's really AI or just smart machines or smart spreadsheets and things.
But it does seem like all the manufacturers are moving towards these AI, whether embedded or a cloud solution to ramp up their IDP processes for scale.
Yeah. Well, that'll be good. So yeah, I mean that's good. Well, wait, and then Dex, I think Dex did something. Didn't they buy it? Or was that before? No, they announced a new Dex Tech. So a new managed services wing or department or division, Dex Tech. I don't know if you saw that.
No, I didn't catch that.
I don't know what it means. Yeah, Lexmark rolled out their new device. I saw that for the first time. And then Kyocera has major losses.
Konica Minolta did an impairment charge.
Right. So, interesting. There's news, and then again, new hires and things like that. other than that, I didn't see that much more. How about you? Anything? Because then I'm going to get to our guest. Same old art.
I'm just doing a quick scroll. The only other thing is a company came out with expected card again of MPS, 8.3% increase.
In MPS.
Yep. So it says it's supposed to surpass $96 billion in the next, I think well, this is by 2032.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Only 7 years.
Only 7 years. Nothing changes that quickly. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see.
And the other one. I don't know if you caught it. Atlantic tomorrow.
I did see something. What did they do?
They acquired an AI company. So that's the first time I've seen a dealer actually acquire an AI company. This company is called Brain Cell.
Yeah, Brain Cell. I got
Right.
it here. It's in my show notes. Yeah. Again, I dipped into it, but I didn't look real hard. I hear that all the time. Let's see what we got here.
Basically said it was done for its deep technology expertise, advanced data, and AI capabilities and process optimization. So take it for what it's worth and what it means.
Yeah. Hey, where's Atlantic from? Isn't that New York?
Yeah, that's in New York.
Okay, that could be something then. Interesting. All right.
All right. So why don't you introduce Gavin?
Well, we've got a super duper expert guest speaker, surprise guest speaker in the house. Gavin Williams. Now, Gavin goes back with us for a long time. I mean, you probably don't want to say how long, but
long time.
I know, man. We're just talking.
Ex-cons.
Well, you're never really an ex-con, are
you? Yeah, right. Can't escape it.
You can't. They pull you back in.
Yeah.
But so, Gavin, what are you doing now? We'll just jump right there. What's going on? What are you doing in your world?
So, I was out and I got pulled back in.
No, you did not.
I did. We had a family move and moved back to Montana and was working for a local dealer up here. And Mike had started Somalio Consulting, gave me a call, said there was something he wanted me to take a look at, and here we are.
You know how that goes when those conversations
3-4 years later. So, at the time there was a new ERP company that wanted to, get into verticals, and that was really why I came back to assess it, but it just wasn't a good fit. And out of all of that, I got hooked up with Alex Kribbe, and we ended up partnering with Acumatica, and we launched DX1 going on 2 years now.
Okay, so those names sound familiar, but for everyone else, give us a brief what DX1 is.
So DX1 is like I said, it's built on Acumatica. It's been verticalized for our industry, specifically around the traditional copier business, as it comes to contracts and service. While it's, what we do every day in our day-to-day, it's pretty unique when it comes to comparing it to other business processes. So there was customization there that we did, and with that, also a new approach to meter collection, meter automation, supply automation, and also e-commerce. So with this platform, it's really the first turnkey platform for the dealers to migrate over into that full office supply offering space.
Okay. All right. So squeezing into our world, is it an add-on to an eAutomate? Is it standalone from eAutomate? Does it replace
It's a complete replacement for eAutomate. It's
Okay.
Acumatica is a full ERP, SaaS-based ERP. They're the
Okay.
number one ERP platform in North America. They began in 2005. They are the first ERP that began as a true SaaS platform.
Okay.
And so, when you get outside of our industry and look at ERPs in the general space, like NetSuite and SAP Business One, Forza, Epicor, things like that. All of those
Mhm.
were server-based ERPs that moved to the cloud, but they're still server-based applications. Acumatica started and is a full true SaaS platform.
Okay. So where did Acumatica strike out? Where was what was their first niche in the industry? Was it manufacturing?
I would say construction was probably their really where they began.
Really?
Was in construction, and it's also where the field service. One of the big benefits of Acumatica was a very extensive field service
Okay.
module already built, and that really came out of the construction industry, and then we just simply customized it for our industry.
Okay. All right. How much, when you say construction, how deep does your knowledge go into that side of their roots? Was it like GC? Was it home building? Where?
Yeah, no,
Okay. Okay.
I mean, all I really care about is, how does it help us in the industry? And
Right.
when we finally said, okay, yeah, we're going to do this again, and we wanted to we wanted to look at what was all out there. And I mentioned this began with a different ERP company, but they were so far out there that it just would have been too big of a pull to bring it into this industry.
Okay. I know what you're,
It,
yeah.
it was a derivative of JD Edwards, and it was just it would have been a big pull. And so as we're going through all these things, Acumatica kept coming back because of what we learned the first time around.
Right. Okay.
And the things that we learned as dealers started utilizing the platform, we were able to ensure that those things were met before we even got started.
Okay.
Acumatica checked all of those boxes. It already had field service. It already had all the modules. Our customization effort was, while it's a very complicated, especially when you get into the 9 million ways our industry's figured out how to bill a click.
Mm.
That creates that complexity, but it gave us a platform that we didn't have to build it 100% from scratch.
Okay. And forgive me, Art, I'm going to get a little into the weeds here, I guess, but can a dealer implement yours while running another system? I mean,
Absolutely.
Okay, so we can focus in on, say, the service side of the business.
Oh,
with you.
I see what you're saying. No, so I mean, so eAutomate, which is primarily what most of the dealers are running on.
Okay.
That's a business system, right? It's a purpose-built business system. It's not an ERP. An ERP covers everything outside of just, handling the financials and your payables and receivables and contracts and all that stuff.
Okay.
So the ERP, just day one, brings a tremendous amount of benefit to the dealers, because now they have all these other things that honestly pretty much every major company outside of our industry has been doing for years, right? Because they're all on ERPs. So when we migrate a system, now one of the things, and I heard you guys talking about AI earlier, one of the big benefits with Acumatica is their investment in AI. So there's 3 areas that AI has been added to the platform. And the biggest one for our community is on data conversion. So while it is very similar to getting a root canal on pretty much every tooth to convert your back end office system, I mean, to be honest, right? It's not a fun process.
Right.
The Acumatica provides us tools to where it's a lot less painful, because now we can utilize AI to monitor that data being imported during a conversion and let it identify the areas that need to be addressed or fixed, rather than making the dealer have to go through record by record to ensure that they have the correct information when they convert over.
And is that when you say convert, that's a one-time process,
That's a
right?
one-time process. And one of the biggest things, and it's been something that's been talked about extensively, and I just want to be clear on it. There's 10 bill of rights that a customer gets with DX1, and one of those is it's their data all the time. So if dealers want to back up their data, if they want to have access to their own SQL database, they have that. It's their data. There is no question about it.
Okay. How do you, when you say that though, what does that mean? It doesn't reside locally, it's up in the cloud.
Oh, well, dealers have a choice. So it is a cloud-based product. So they can either go through us, which we hosted on AWS, on Amazon services,
Okay.
or they can host it themselves on AWS or Azure. That's their choice.
Okay. So it's still out there, and it's just behind AWS. That's all.
Right. But it's a true SQL database. It is an open architecture platform. So all the capabilities of doing full customization, like what we did to create DX1, comes out of the box. No charge. It's part of the system, as well as no code, low code for customization of, you want another field. You want to collect another data point than somebody else. Okay, great. You can do that with no code, low code. You also have open APIs. So one of my customers, they wanted to integrate with the product. I couldn't because of other commitments, and he went ahead and did that. And in 30 days, he was integrated with his own platform that he wanted to utilize to get information. So I got to be kind of cryptic, and I can't say who and what and where, but that is the biggest change for our industry, is that the dealers are not beholden to anyone. They can customize, they can integrate, they can use the system as makes sense for their business processes. They don't have to use it like every other dealer in the country. They also have open report capability. They can create their own reports. They can edit existing reports. But the other big thing is, this is one of the areas that we're really driving change in, that getting away from the static reports, right? Look how much our industry's changed even since COVID. So, anytime there's new data or new ways to look at a data, or, all these different measurements, that requires somebody to create those reports. That's a crazy process. So you got two things with this platform. One is you have full integration with Power BI. Power BI is, Microsoft's analytic product, has AI built into it. You no longer have to build reports. You can ask questions about your data. So that's huge. Number two is you have dashboards. You have visualization of your data within the system. And again, with permissions, of course, any user can create their own additional dashboards, adjust KPIs, pull in external data sources, all of that out of the box.
Okay, so and I'm going to step a couple back, then I got some pressing questions. When you say it's an ERP, but it doesn't handle general ledger, accounts payable, and accounts receivable, or is that run financials out of?
Absolutely. It's a full ERP, GAAP approved. Like I said, it's the number one ERP accounting system in the US.
All right, and just not that it applies here, but does it do a job costing? You have
Yes.
Yep. You have job costs.
Yep. You can do job costs. So, yeah.
Okay, so that's the technical side. All right, so here comes, how the hell are you guys going to dislodge Digital Gateway?
Well, there's two ways to answer that question, but for the to give you the honest answer, it's to provide not only better functionality but better value.
Listen, I mean,
And
and I don't listen. I don't doubt that, but there's two. There's a big reason because Digital Gateway between. I mean, Art will probably never get them as a sponsor, but my exposure to them as a system, to say put it lightly, is it's very difficult. All right, it's
it,
not the easiest thing in the world. And I cut my teeth on accounting systems and job cost systems and all that stuff. So I know, the difference between intuitive and pull your hair
Mhm.
out kind of stuff.
All right.
Other than all the other things that we've heard about, right? I mean, the human side, everyone's got problems, but the technical side I found to be that's a
So
little.
help me out here.
Yeah.
Help me out here for maybe for users who aren't aware of. I mean, for me, who is Digital Gateway?
Sorry. So ECI, the accounting systems that all dealers, yeah, ECI, everything,
Got it.
right? And then a hodgepodge of other, MPS connectors, quote devices. They've got all sorts of other things. Interesting thing about ECI is I think they came out of the retail lumber industry, which is
that's one of their big products. Yeah.
yeah,
But
and that's not an easy industry, by the way, to keep a track of inventory because linear feet versus it's all sorts of goofy shit when it comes to inventory and selling. So that's props there, but it is an old school, maybe even built on a mini or a mainframe back in the olden days. So there's that to it. But for you, Gavin, dude, I mean, they're established. They're what 90% of the real dealers in the world use it.
Pretty much.
but isn't there a lot of pain with
Hell yeah,
ECI? I mean,
it's
the
terrible.
dealers that I speak to,
I've used it, Art. I've installed it. I've had to go from absolutely nothing to full blown digital gateway everything. From
right?
we got nothing to we're going to manage everything, and we're going to put an MPS system in there too. Well, that blew the invoicing. Fine, right? Just like I could have done it with Great Plains or Solomon or Platinum or any of the other ones that were around, right? Yeah, that's
All of
okay.
Right.
But other than that, when they start to reach out into other areas, started to like, this is too hard. I don't want to do this. that kind of
Well, and it also comes back to what's happening in our industry, right?
right.
And the changes that the dealers are going through. How many dealers are looking for the ability to collect other revenue streams? So let's, is eAutomate, can it bill a copier? Yeah. And it does it really well because it's been
Yeah,
doing it for a long
yeah,
time, right? But that's where it begins and ends.
yeah.
If you want to get into, let's say you want to get into office supplies or office furniture, what's the ECI product for that? It's DDMS. Does DDMS and eAutomate talk? No, never will. So you have to have two separate systems if you just want to make that small jump. Now let's talk about managed services.
What about service contracts and then service inventories? I remember that being a pain in the ass. For some reason, I don't know if maybe it's
Well,
on.
the last dealer I was at was on we were on E, and the only way you actually knew if you had something in stock to sell somebody was to actually get out of your chair and go look at it on the shelf because it was you know it was never right. But so yeah, I mean, and that honestly, Greg, is where an ERP, a real common ERP really makes a difference because those are the things that every business goes through, right? That has inventory. So you get into things like MRP, and you get into Acumatica having invested in AI when it comes to inventory management and MRP, which stands for material resource planning. So it goes beyond just the technicians and making sure that they have the right parts. It's actually analyzing what's the run rate of the parts in the car stock and making recommendations on how to reorder or mins and maxes on what those techs should carry based on what's being consumed. Right? Same thing with dead stock. That's a huge problem in our industry, right? How many dealers have millions of dollars worth of parts or supplies on their shelves for machines they don't even have in the field anymore?
I mean, it's an accepted cost of business. right now. It
Well,
really is.
it
I mean,
doesn't have to be.
doesn't have, I know, I know, I know.
You
Well,
know, so those are all the things of why an ERP brings value, right? But
yeah,
what's very different this time around from the last time around is Acumatica themselves. They have been looking for ways to become more micro verticalized. And when I say that, you know, they're in construction, they're in distribution, they're in manufacturing, right? But talking about manufacturing, that's a that's a big slice, right? I mean, you, somebody could be bottling spaghetti sauce, and that's considered manufacturing, right? To be sold through grocery stores, and somebody else can be building ovens for
yep.
commercial restaurants. Those are two very different manufacturing processes. So Acumatica themselves have said, well, maybe we should look at more of a micro vertical approach, which is what we do. We do not sell outside of this industry. We are part of this industry. Everybody that works here is from the industry, and we focus on this industry. So Acumatica took a leap of faith with us, and not only did they invest in the company, but we also have them doing. I have their resources doing all of my development. So whereas with Forza, we had we had our own developers and we were doing things and to the best that we could. This time around, we are giving out what we need to accomplish, and the same people that built the core software is building our customization. It couldn't be any better.
Okay. All right. So what's the whatever you can, I mean, what's the market, what's the go-to-market strategy? What's the payoff that you want in the next 2 to 3 years? And then how are you guys looking to do that? You know, I mean, obviously convert dealers.
Correct. And I mean, that's not an overnight thing, right?
No.
I mean, it's and we recognize that. We have a very you know, a very long research process for what's successful in implementation. But you know, a lot of it comes down to what can the dealer's team, their employees, what additional work can they handle? We don't want to break their back, but you know, we can't do it all by ourselves, right?
Right.
So that's a big factor in it. But you know, having tools that automate that data import really do accelerate. So you know, depending on size, we can convert somebody anywhere from 30 days and you know up to 6 months if it's a larger dealer. But what we have been doing over the last year and why we've been kind of quiet, we've had you know, our first set of dealers that were picked for various reasons, and part of that was we wanted to go through all the paces. We wanted to make sure everything was working 100% for when we crank it open, so that all we are really focused on is executing, and executing being converting dealers. So that's where we came out with ECS. And, you know, so right now we are, you know, our 2 to 3 year plan is we can't convert everybody overnight, but we'd be successful if we had, you know, 400 or 500 dealers by that time. Now, you know, the number of dealers
400 or 500, that's a lot.
Well, not really.
Well, there's only, how many dealers do you think? All right,
So that's a good question, right?
How big is the pool? You know,
I think the pool, if you
5,000.
include, I don't think it's that big. I think it's about 2,200, but you know, and again, this is, you know, we all, it's not just e-automate replacement, it's also DDMS replacement. So there's about 500 of those DDMS dealers out there.
okay, I'm sorry, back up. I missed the DDMS. What did they?
That is the product that 99% of the office supply, office furniture dealers
Okay, all right.
operate that side of the business on. So this replaces eAutomate and DDMS,
Okay, all right.
Printasia, the whole thing.
Not familiar. Okay, that's a different. All right, cool.
The new FM audit.
Really?
Printinista. Sorry for
Oh, wait. Printanista is yours or it's someone else's?
no, we have a replacement for that as well
Right.
with
So
AI machine learning in it.
all right. So that's the side of the that's the print management side, right?
And the contract billing. I mean, everybody always jumps to the managed print side of it, but let's not forget that 80% of the revenue is coming through standard contracts, and the meter collection is a pretty important piece of that. So we actually partner with KPAX with ACDI.
Right. All right. Wow. So Art, did you see this at ECS at all?
Yeah. I actually caught Gavin at ECS, and I was actually working with Power MPS, which is Alex Kribbe, for quite some time. And then they had to transfer over last year to DX1. And then I thought it'd be a great time to get Gavin on the show and learn more about DX1.
Perfect.
So
Gavin,
but I did hold on. I did pull up something here when I went to AI and asked about office equipment dealers. BTA is 750 over 750, but it said total equipment and suppliers dealers, office equipment wholesalers, dealers, anywhere from 4,000 to 5,000.
Yeah,
but that's kind of wide in the distribution.
Yeah, and I mean it's probably going off of SIC codes too.
Yes, it is. It actually is. It's going off of it lists two different SIC codes here. How it comes up with those numbers.
Okay.
So, there's a lot of acquisition out there, right? There has been. So a lot of that's been consolidated, but yeah, I mean.
Well, okay, the numbers are regardless. You gotta have something. But all right. So how are you guys going to market? Seriously, is it considered a direct sale or how
Say that again? Sorry.
Is it considered a direct sale from?
It's a direct sale because we break the market into three tiers, right? I mean, less than 20 million, 20 to 100 million, and 100 and above, right? In revenue.
Okay.
You get above a certain point, it does become a bigger process because you're talking about tremendous amounts of business processes, and we got to work through all of those things, right? So it's always kind of a direct sale. The smaller dealers, they're pretty much just out of the box, and we can get a copy of their database and convert them over. They're usually pretty good about not wanting to do a bunch of customization, but you start getting into the larger dealers, then yeah. But the important thing is that those dealers don't have to continue doing things like everybody else or have all these convoluted processes. When we are having those conversations, it can get kind of comical, where people start talking about, well, they do this. Well, why do you do that? Well, because somebody trained me to do that 30 years ago. But for what reason? I don't know. And then you go ask the other department, they're like, well, why did you have them do this? We don't know. They've just always been doing it that way. So, it's getting through those things, and it's more focusing on what do you want the result to be? Right. And then we can give options and move from there. So yeah, it is all direct sale pretty much, but we
let me ask you another question. And
plenty of pipeline.
So this is different than quote the last time. It sounds like it. It really does. Yeah. From the back room, from the counter back into the back room. What's going to be different this time in terms of customer engagement, prospect generation on the sales and marketing side?
Are you talking about from an end user perspective, or I mean from a dealer perspective?
From you going to market, okay. What's going to be difference between then and now?
Yeah, so a couple of things. One, it's the market has changed, and when we were doing it the last time, it was very focused on just that office equipment channel, right? That's not the case this time. Like I said, we have that whole other that whole other vertical. So we're still honestly still working through some of that process, because as we've come back, it's a very different process than it was in 2016, 2017. I mean, it's just a very different environment. In fact, back then, one of the biggest platforms I was selling to upgrade was OMD.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Yeah, funny, huh? So now everybody's been pretty much on
That's true.
eAutomate, and it's not really a selling. I don't have to talk about their pain points; they already know them.
Everyone knows. Yeah, you're right about that. Right about
You
that.
know,
It
my
becomes,
job is
it's how much pain is it to shift versus it's the classic, right? I'm in a lot of pain, but if I want to move, it's gonna, I'm gonna have to cut off 2 arms and 4 legs to get to where I want to
yeah,
go. So is it worth it?
especially in the old days, not so much now, right? I mean, the tool set that we have, we didn't have that with SAP, right? I mean, it doesn't exist. So that was a huge benefit, right? And it has been a huge benefit as we convert these customers. We haven't had any data conversion issues at all. Now, knock on wood, but that is drastically different than the last time around. There would be, iterations and iterations of trying to make sure that the data is validating properly. It's not a problem this time around. So, my job is to show to the dealers that there's an alternative and what the benefits of that alternative is. So
What's
that's
the
it.
what's the approximate price point gonna be?
So great question. It's tier-based product, and one of the additional benefits, and especially for our industry, we have a lot of headcount changes. There could be contract service, contract workers, especially around the school district. End of June, 1st of July is always a big time in our industry, right? With the state and local government contracts, but the platform itself, other than the very, very small, right? I have a very small product for dealers that are less than 10 users.
Okay. Yeah.
And then after so if you're a small dealer, you're less than 10 users, I have a special fully functional, but it's just limited up to 10 users, and you get a big discount for it. After that, it's unlimited users. Unlimited users. It's not a license model. It is simply based on how many invoices the dealer sends out a month.
Oh,
It's a tier. So those tiers go, they start at 3,000 invoices a month and go all the way up to, unlimited. But for a dealer, they are only paying for what they actually use. And there's a lot of options.
right.
There's full expense management. So a product like Concur, where you can scan receipts, build expense reports with the mobile app, do all that stuff. That's an option. AP processing, zonal OCR. It's got document management built into it. Oh, look at you getting all.
Say that again, Art. Jump on that.
It's interesting. I'm a little bit in the weeds here with the technology, with the back end part of the business. But since TX1 is an ERP and not like eAutomate, right? So Gavin, can you bring other like open AIA API sources into your ERP? And I'm thinking out loud here because next week we have a meeting with Rico PFU. And Rico PFU is telling us that the market for not scanners on copiers, where the copiers can collect the scans, but they're moving more towards a pay per scan basis for all of these scanners that you see in the doctor's offices and pharmaceutical companies and
The food
small
users.
scanners on desktops because they want to integrate them with their cloud services,
Yep. Yep.
right? So there's, I don't know if you've caught any of our videos or any of our talk tracks. There's an API out there called Twain Direct.
Called what?
Twain Direct,
Oh, yeah.
right? And they have I'm a little bit of a novice here, but I'm thinking maybe there might be an opportunity for where Twain Direct can actually integrate with DX1.
So we are an open API system. So the dealer has the same capability as we do. They can integrate with really anybody that out there. It follows RESTful API process. So that's obviously the easiest. If there's already an API, you can go through the API connection and map your fields, and you have full capability out of the box.
Well, Gavin, you're right, because when you said scanning, because within the last, I don't know, 5 or 6 months, scanning has come up a lot, right? I mean, a
Well,
lot.
and I mean, go back to our days, right? I mean, I used to sell Kofax,
Yeah.
the Bell and Howell production scanners and the Fuji production scanners, but there's a lot of setup. I used to sell a lot of Kofax AP processing, but you had to go through and set up all the zones for the invoices and things like that. And it's expensive too, right? So nothing, not taking away from any of those, but for dealers that are getting invoices from only a few sources, OEMs, distributors if they're selling supplies, even distributors if they're doing office products, things like that. Those are pretty consistent. And what you can add to the system is built in. You don't have to adjust it. It scrapes their email because you have full email integration with DX1. And you got full AP processing where it's scraping emails right out of right out of people's inboxes for payables. So that's not for a dealer to resell, right? That's for their own use, but that is, and again, it's just a value add. Bidirectional banking integration,
Right.
right? So they have bidirectional communication with their bank. Now, as long as their bank supports it, which most of them do, but that's huge. Dealers have never had that before.
Does
Uh,
Digital Gateway do that? ECI do that? Do you
no,
know?
no,
Oh,
no, no, no.
okay.
We also introduce a lot of new capabilities, reoccurring scheduled maintenance on machines on a contract. So just like setting up a reoccurring Outlook calendar appointment, you say you got a large customer, you want to do quarterly cleanings, great. Set up a reoccurring quarterly cleaning every 3 months, and when that interval hits, the system automatically creates a service order and dispatches a tech.
I want to throw something in here real quick. We're getting toward the top of the hour, but so what I've noticed in the last maybe 6 or 7 years is the successful dealers take things in-house and then resell those services that they've developed in-house outside. I'll call out Impact, right, out of Chicago. They built one hell of a great marketing department back then, right? Marketing department.
Yep.
And they took those services and sold marketing to their customers, right? It's a great idea. So what you just said earlier about, I don't know, 2 or 3 minutes ago is okay. What if have you guys thought about that? I mean, if a dealer is using whatever solution it is and is solving problems with service agreements, service inventory, and they sell to HVAC or electric or any of the other guys that have the exact same challenges, because they do.
Yep.
I know you guys probably, you got one teaspoon.
Yeah. So
but
we have discussed that. That we had a similar program with SAP, and I did have a couple of dealers
Really?
take advantage of it. Um, a couple of dealers did end up going through the training and selling it to their customers. So,
Hmm.
we that was something new to Acumatica, but they're fully supportive of it. So,
Digital Gateway and ECI are not talking that talk. You know
no, no, no. And honestly, the ERP has become such a common sale. You know, we look at here, I'll give you one that'll blow a lot of people's minds. In our industry, if you've been on eAutomate, you've probably been on it for 20, 30 years. And if you are that old, then you were probably on OMD for 30 years before that, right?
Okay.
After I left MWA in 2018, I went out and I started selling SAP in the open space. I worked for a large VAR out of California, and I was selling SAP Business One out in the open space. These people change, normal businesses change ERPs about every 5 years. And I'm talking they'll go from NetSuite to Business One, or they'll go from Business One to Epicor, or they go from Epicor to Acumatica.
no idea. All right.
Why is that?
So
Yeah, why did they do that? Seriously, why?
new features, new functionalities, business changes. Think about how much has changed and how much people can't do with what they have today, but they think that they're stuck
Hmm.
on this system just because of their office equipment contracts. It's not the case. And there's so much additional value and benefit being in a product that is not just got let's say for argument's sake there's 2,500 dealers. So how many eAutomate customers are there? 2,200 at most, 2,100. When you go on DX1, you're joining a community of 150,000 customers. That's a very different environment. New features, new functionalities that are for general business, right? We focus on the things for our industry, but you have a platform that integrates with Salesforce, HubSpot, Teams, Excel, all your normal everyday business solutions that you do every day. And oh, by the way, on service, you have GPS built in. So you can track your technicians, you can track your vehicles. That's all built in. That's comes with the system. And mobility is not just for service, it's for the entire company. You want to be sitting on a beach in Hawaii processing a purchase order, you can do it on your cell phone.
It was 80 degrees and sunny here, by the way. Just
Yeah, well, it's
Dirty dog.
6 below and it snowed 8 inches in the last 5 hours. So
I remember those days.
yeah,
So,
no.
Gavin, I got one more question for you that came
Sure.
up when I was doing some research on this API connectivity.
Yeah,
Does DX1 provide API endpoints for document management or metadata storage?
we provide endpoints for the entire system. So what happens is there's pre-built endpoints that come with the system that are common. If you want to integrate, I don't know, something related to a sales order, you have an endpoint for accounts receivable. But if you can either, so when you want to do something unique that doesn't just fit into a clean endpoint, you can either start with one of the existing endpoints and add fields to it, or you can just start from scratch and create your own endpoints. All endpoints are is what areas of the system do you want to touch? So you have everybody has that, assuming they have rights to that, but you have a endpoint module where you can go in and customize, modify, or build your own endpoints.
Interesting. Good, Greg, I got a question for you.
Yes.
What are you drinking what are you drinking today?
What
That's
are
a
you?
good job.
Oh,
It's Wild Turkey 101. It's Friday.
I understand.
It's Friday. I get it.
It's
I
Friday.
just wish I would have prepared better. I'd look better and I'd have a drink too.
Oh, you couldn't look better than you do right now.
I know. That's just natural. I mean,
We learn to live with it, don't we?
Yes.
yeah, I'm starting to look like you now. I'm getting old.
At the age of the mileage. Oh, hey Art, I know where you're going with that question, and I agree with you. That's really interesting. And I know we're coming up close, but I got to ask this question, Gavin. The system that you're talking about, how can it help salespeople sell more?
Good question. So we took a very clear direction this time, learning from last time. Sales reps don't really belong in an ERP. And it's nothing against sales reps. It's just an ERP is somewhat restrictive because you got to follow the rules, right? That's us sales guys. We don't really follow
rules. I don't like rules.
So that being said,
breakers.
for the smaller dealers, it does have a built-in CRM. It's the normal 101 CRM stuff. You can create quotes, send quotes, manage activity. That it is what it is, right? I mean, it's a decent CRM. But for the more advanced dealers that are on like Agent Dealer or Sales, we integrate. Salesforce, we integrate. A lot of my dealers have been on Salesforce Direct. So Salesforce.com, like I said, out of the box integration. HubSpot, out of the box integration. So you do have marketing and campaign management within the system.
Well, what does that mean, though? What does that mean? Does it?
So if you want to run a marketing campaign, somebody wants to run a marketing campaign, they can integrate with like a MailChimp and keep track of customers that are responding or getting taken off the, asking to be unsubscribed, things like that. But all of that flows back to your CRM. Our point is to be the central repository of all information. So, the things that a rep does in the process of doing sales, they do that in their CRM, and all of that information is synced so that management can always come in. They don't have to go to the CRM to find that information. They can just simply log into DX1. They can see how many opportunities are going out to their customers, where they at in the sales stage, what activity has been happening on this customer. Now, conversely, the rep in their system can see what service has been doing, or what products have been going out, or have the real-time buyout information if they're trying to do an upgrade.
What do you mean by what products have been going? Like for the organization, they can see that they sold 4 or 5 wide format in another location.
That's up to the dealer if they want to open up that kind of information.
Right.
But the conduit is there.
Or it may be a little
conduit
bit
is
better
there.
because a lot of times, not all maintenance agreements include supplies.
Correct.
That's right.
So in some cases, if you're going to do a total cost of ownership, you need to find out how many toners they've bought over
Right.
the last 12 months, right?
Yep. And we do have profitability reports. Profitability, you can slice and dice. You want to include service, you want to include labor, do you want to include the original sale? All these different ways to look at it, but it doesn't require a rep to go in and build these things. They can just call that report. They don't even have to really log in to do it. It can just email it to them. So there's more advanced reps that may want to go in. Honestly, it doesn't matter because it's unlimited users. To the dealer, he can give they can give access to everyone they want because it doesn't cost them anything.
It's the number of invoices.
It's simply based on the number of transactions they're doing, right? Contract workers, big thing in our industry. That's built-in functionality. You set up a vendor as your contract worker, say they're a service tech, they get automatically added to the service team. They can download the mobile app. They can get their calls just like another technician, work it just like another technician. For all intents and purposes, they're an employee on that end, but in the back end, they're a 1099 contract worker.
Okay, so the scheduling, all that stuff,
Yep.
even
Skip.
out to like, would it go to trunk stock or not? Probably not.
If they do have trunk stock, but I mean, usually those contract, I mean, it depends on the contract worker, right?
Right,
If it's just a contract worker where they're sending parts after the fact, it would just be a drop ship.
Right. Okay.
But full accountability, right, of all those parts from the time they receive them to the time they're consumed.
What do you guys do with warranty tracking, especially on
Has
service
war-
parts?
Yep, has warranty tracking built in. So you got your mainframe, you got your accessories, you got OEM warranty, and then there's
OEM
also
warranty.
additional warranty to use for your own purposes. Company, high tech. High tech's a good example. We can keep track of both warranties on a high tech board that's being replaced. So if it still has OEM warranty on it versus
My nightmare was it was HP actually.
what's that?
My nightmare was HP warranty on service
Yeah.
parts. That was tough to track. But anyway, okay.
All those warranties are tracked in there. And the key thing is you're tracking all of this information now. Now you can start managing based on, results versus having to go through endless reports to try and find how to improve. I mentioned earlier, service has GPS, right? So you have GPS tracking built in, and the system utilizing Bing, right? It calculates what a tech should drive in a day and how long they should be in the car. Now, things happen, construction, right? An accident. But rather than a service manager sitting there through endless end of day reports every day, looking for things that are out of whack, now you can simply say, hey, let me know if the mileage is 30% variance, or they drove, their drive time was 30% variance. And the system notifies the tech, hey, maybe you want to go take a look at this technician's day.
Okay.
So it's giving the tools to make better business choices, but also to make people more productive.
Awesome.
Well, wow.
Awesome.
So 4 minutes over. Art. Hey, Gavin, thank you very
Sorry,
much.
guys.
Good job connecting us.
Yeah. I'm happy to do it, guys. I appreciate you having me on.
No worries. So everyone, we're at the witching hour. We're just a little bit past 5 on February 7th, and my birthday. And we want to thank Gavin Williams for coming on today with DX1. Always hats off to Greg Walters for leading the show and asking excellent questions. And we'll see you, next Friday? Valentine's Day. So wear your hearts.
I always have my heart on.
Yeah. Like, follow, and share. And we will see you next week.